Hey guys, it's MJ from Alta Love. How are you? So today I want to talk about freedom in detachment, and then PS, detachment is not denial. So denial is something that's quite prevalent in our in culture, as far as like being disconnected and in denial of the emotional body. Being certainly, like, I would say the link here is that there's still mass denial around the unity piece of our creative experience, as in we are creators, and um our totality, i.e. mind, body, and emotional world, is all that we are. There's no separation here. And so we talk about things like spiritual bypassing, and or the distortion in the inherent corruption of denial, when we deny how we feel and we just control or force other people to behave a certain way, and do certain things to make ourselves feel better, or to make us feel better. And versus detachment, which is like a indeed just to be present and hold space. So anytime that when we're attached, it's that we're actually looping back into pain body patterns, basically, like victim patterns and or savior patterns. Again, we're attachment is anything that would kind of attach us to a polarity of existence, versus that kind of middle way where I tend to visualize a infinity loop of creation. So, we ebb and flow, but then we're always really moving back to center, versus ebbing out here, and then trying to work really hard to kind of maintain that polarity, rather than allowing ourselves to be fluid creators ultimately, right? I remember years and years ago, not long after my um, sort of adult spiritual awakenings, I remember just being in this sort of meditative space and seeing this vision of, somehow I knew it to be a universe. I knew it to be a kind of the essence of the creative life force, and it was just literally like a light moving through the infinite dark, like a big cylinder or a big snake or something. Hi, tree hugger, Dave Mahoney. How are you? Mm, So, so yeah, we're kind of just ebbing and flowing, and anything that resists the cycles and flows of life, anything that denies our unity with existence, is ultimately attached to an illusion. So when we're attached to the illusion, we often deny the self, because we're projecting our self onto the other, onto the external, onto the illusion of our creation, versus the inherent recognition that we are one with creation, and thus we can transform process but remain detached when it comes to engaging certain energy streams. And I'm sharing, likely just because of the stuff that I'm sitting with in my own reality, and essentially just kind of holding space for myself, and um like allowing people to be where they are, and then being responsible for to just step back from situations when it just feels uncomfortable. And I'm aware of it as well, around like around events and around big gatherings and stuff like that, especially if you're a sensitive empath, that just having big groups of people together can be quite exhausting energetically. um, and then you throw that in the mix, different substances and different foods and different um, well, exhaustion potentially as well. And then, it's just heightened for everybody. It's just tough. And I always find, like, it's so much nicer for us when we can find like compassion and love for the situation that we're in. And, I'm acutely aware of this sort of, I don't know, this existence, total and utter luxury and comfort, and yet control and misery is what kind of underpins that comfort. That um yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Hi, Banu, how are you? Thank you, tree hugger. um I'm kind of sleepy, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I might need to have a little lie down. Um, and that was just a kind of a late night, and then um, going to bed at whatever time. I don't know if you guys get this, but it was what time would I have gone to bed? Maybe 1 or 2, and then I still woke up at like 6 in the morning. 'Cause sometimes I wake up at like 2 or 3, and then but it seems like no matter what, unless I go to bed at like 8, 9, I'll sleep through until sort of maybe 3, 4, 5. But if I go to bed later and later, I still wake up, quite early on. Oh, hi, Emily Shane. How are you? Um, I really appreciate your shares. So I think it doesn't matter how much coffee you have. I slept well done. Yeah, it doesn't matter necessarily how much coffee you have. There's still just this sort of sleepiness vibrashe happening. Um, Hi, Gigi for Truth. How are you? Um, yeah, just wishing you guys lots of love, basically. I wanted to hop on live just to say hey, uh, and yeah, basically just have a little sesh. Um, uh, I hope you guys are well. Yes. So I haven't like a huge amount to share. That's just what came through around detachment. And detachment isn't denial. Detachment is just an awareness, a presence to hold space versus. And when we attach ourselves, we tend to react. The pain in the body is triggered, and then we kind of react into things. And again, I always share in humility, usually because I'm going through something and reacting and or observing reactivity in my life, and so I want to share that. I want to share that as an insight, which um, leads to greater freedom. And I'm getting this right now. Hi, Scott. How are you? And I'm getting this sense of I'm just hearing detachment and magnetism. So I was about to just draw on my face. Um, Magnetism. I'm getting a lot around that. There's a lot of signs around me that are pointing to magnetism, and which there again has a lot to do with our ability to follow through in our intuitive guidance, even when our intuitive guidance is not conventional. And I'll just have to noodle with it. And I'm thinking about different things that dropped into my awareness as far as like generational patterning and the unconscious layers of um, fear probing, and so um, the the protective layers that we have that are weirdly kind of they can feel like arrogance, and yet ultimately again underneath arrogance is this subtle layer of insecurity usually, and then within the insecurity you'll find there's again these like deep wounds, and so often the wounding is related to acceptance and love by the parents, and a seeking that belongingness and that acceptance. And I just witnessed that of the ways in which we deny the self to please other and please other and please other. And I'm aware that people's lives can look can look really just fine like that, and yet just being me and having the sensitivities that I have, I'm aware that it's never hidden. Like those underlying impulses, neuroses, those underlying distortions are present. But again, our society allows us in such a way to live in denial. just to go, oh, where could that be? Or it must be some health issue, or it must be this, or I'm just eating too much, or maybe I'm, blah, blah, blah. We just make any number of like physical excuses as to why we're feeling, doing, or again, I noticed this as well. Like, um, people kind of gossip and talk, but then, and this is where I'm like, this so aware that gossip isn't necessarily from a loving place, but people gossip and talk, but they're endeavor to actually sort out, the pain. If we're attacking one another and hurting one another, we're all in pain. There's something going on, but people would rather stay in those perpetual attack loops because they're not violently attacking one another. We It's acceptable, and yet what I notice is that it's still manifesting. It's just not. It for someone like me, it manifests in ways that I feel it like an elephant in the room, but people don't talk about it. However, and this is the thing about the gossip piece, is that people talk about it behind each other's backs. And so I'll hear what people say about other people. And there again, like, it's there's discernment. As with anything, there's discernment, because any of us need to express. If we've been hurt, if we've been bullied, if something's gone on, we need to be able to express without judgment. However, if it's a pattern speak, if it's a problem that we just keep putting onto somebody but never kind of like addressing it, then nobody wins in that situation, and then nobody's responsible, because and again, this is something I observe in aspects of like this moaning and complaining about said or who and did, and then I don't know, these kind of coming together of like love and unity, and how much we're all I I don't know. I guess it's just this continual discussion of like what's going on? What's going on in this world? Is anyone feeling like everyone's just pretending? And hence why someone like me, and when we go through the motions of certain traditions, I'm like, wow, there isn't an underlying or an overarching sense of love, but then there's all these different layers of conditions, and then potentially escapisms, and oh, it's so profound. I'm like, to want to share the insights and share the perception from this pure space of love, and yet knowing that it's like tender, it's like edgy, makes me want to cry actually. And I'm often really emotional after like a big event, just because there's so much energy. um yeah, like, um yeah, just the multi-layeredness of our humanity, Emily, yeah, I feel you. Sometimes I have to be careful. Well, you feel this. You're somebody also do, and sharing that love. And you recently shared something about like it's not kind to attack me. Like, I feel you. I so feel you, and I'm thankful for a share like that. Around, because it resonates with me, and it reminds me that like we feel that. And so for the empath, that trolley energy, that attacky energy is like it's it's sort of a double edge. It's like extra, because we're so used to overcompensating that the troll energy, some people might just be able to flick it off, but then we can, do our best to empower and then flick it off and hold it space. But then for the empath as well, we might do that, but then we can also feel the wound underneath the attacker. So like we can feel into like why they're doing, which is why we want to try to make them feel better, but at the same time they can't see or feel the truth. And so there's like, no, it doesn't always work, no. And yet all we can do is come back to the self, come back to the heart, come back to our own integrity. Hi, hot one min, or one hot min. And Elder, hi, nice to see you, Elliot. um Having morning coffee at the same time, talking about the same thing, kept it for Rosie. Good morning. And whatever the other side of empath is. Well, in sort of these circles, I'm like, isn't that like narcissism? I don't know. Um, I think I'm just appreciative. That's all. You get I'm tired, I still just blab on, right? Yeah, right. It is. Um, and I don't know. I'm like in a bit of a crusty mood, but when I look at my shares and um, I talk about freedom. I talk about freedom because it's so the peace. It's like, are we here? What are we really here for? And it's to me not about holding on to a state of being, um, like happiness or joy or bliss or anger, fear, whatever. It's not about holding on to a frequency, a vibration, an emotion, um, or any at all for that matter. But the reason I think the word freedom is like a gateway for us is that freedom means that you're allowed to be whoever you are. Freedom means that there are days when it's sad and that's okay. There's days when it's happy and that's okay. There's times in life when there's a great deal of community, celebration, support, love, abundance, and there are phases in life um, where we lose and we have grief and we have despair and we have these sort of downturns of our fortune, right? That we want to allow, and um, so freedom to me is like, yeah, the elixir piece of the times that we're living in. And then you could say that, like, holding space for this freedom is love, is compassion, not denial, not some grandiose illusion. Freedom is just, again, I've said it before, but it's like the emancipation. Mm, okay, and my mother blogger, she writes a blog called Zigzagging Towards Zen, and yeah, um, she writes whole sort of blogs just about empathy and how to define it or how to place it as far as where we all sit in our somebody who would say, well, no, they're like, they might be highly sensitive, they're not necessarily empathic, and or she'll finish and like, oh, they have empathy, but they're not necessarily an empath. Like they're not somebody can kind of maybe intellectualize, like imagine what it's like in somebody else's position, right? And so um, they can have empathy, but it doesn't mean they're like an empath, which is somebody. Again, those of us who with me here, it's that I was somebody that from a young age, like my mom knew and kind of tried to protect me from certain environments because she saw the way I reacted to seeing homelessness. And she saw how I reacted when I saw roadkill. So when I was first exposed to violence and poverty and um well, disparity and darkness on this planet, my mom saw how it affected me, and she knew I was empathic. She knew I was a sensitive, a witch, a psychic, right? Um, and she did her utmost to just, support me. I told you guys she used to allow my sister and I to have spiritual rest days at school, because obviously part of her intuition knew that school wasn't the be all and end all. Um, but yeah, freedom in our mind. You just said that, didn't you, Emily? Freedom in our mind. It's always working together. The freedom in our mind is opening our heart, and our open heart is opening our mind. Sissy behaviors. Interesting as well, because now I'm beginning to see how cruel people pleasing is as well. And it's like sensitive. These are sensitive times. People are edgy. It's all the underlying shit that we might have been trying to hide or pretend weren't there. It's all just coming to the surface. Just have to again hold space and see how we go. I don't agree with that one minute. We I don't want everything just forever. Um See, and that's an expression. We need to see it as the circle of life, but as empaths, we want everything to exist forever. I don't attach to life. If anything, like there's many a times where it's like time to go. I'm ready for the release. I'm ready to not have these desires anymore. Yet, um, there is a humanity. There's a world that has come here for a certain person, a mission, and I'm endeavoring to play it out so that I don't have to keep coming back to this planet unconsciously. Yeah, the grid. So it's unity of self for freedom of the soul, so that our soul doesn't unconsciously have to come back. Interesting. Yeah, 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 yeah. Minute, I'm with you. However, it does exist for free. And like the truth of the depth of our beingness, the eternity of life itself, the eternity of existence and of love, that eternity is ultimately forever. And yet we're like, we wanna hold of it. Mm. I have such a good time with this possibility. Tell me more about that. There's nothing different about your visage when someone has to call themselves what they are. They are not human star beast. Oh, raise the high vibrashe. For sure, Gigi. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Look, I'm even like too tired to react. I'm even sure sometimes if there's a troll vibrate and I can feel there's like hardcore loving like protector energy, and I'm just like, thanks, guys. I'm like too tired to even react to anything. Like there again, I said something this morning in there was a little convo happening, and like I said something kind of we're all tired. We're all really tired. And and I said something that was kind of just in my power. I could tell that kind of maybe piss somebody off. And then it was one of those moments where I could tell that, like, as soon as I leave, you know, I'll be the a topic of wonderful, positive conversation, Anywho, I feel like today or tomorrow is going to be a big release. Like just as I share right now, I'm like, I just want to cry for England right now. So that's it for me, you guys. Like seriously, here it comes. I love you guys so much, and I'm so appreciative. Gotta run. Bye, Gigi. Have a great day, you guys. Um, I'll cry tears of joyful release. Human star, I disagree. I disagree completely. Freedom is 100% complete and total. It's one other. We're either enslaved and in chains, or we're completely free. My freedom is just my ability to hold space in my heart. That's all. Freedom has nothing to do with possessions. It has nothing to do with my mind. It has nothing to do with my thoughts. Freedom has to do with the beingness that I am and the connection that I have with that source. And in connection to that source, freedom is complete. Freedom is whole. Love you guys. Thank you. You're awesome. Have a great day, you guys. Peace out. Much love to you, Scott, as well. That's right. In my practice, it's always in the light. It's like stainer to hold space for, and I I can be responsible when I'm tired. I'm not very clear. I just basically wanted to go live and say hi to my friends. But yeah, there isn't a great deal here other than just a tired chica share some stuff. Um, so yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go now. Love you guys. Peace out. Hi, Joe.